and welcome to my Friday forecast. So let's take a look at what the euro and the US dollar has been doing. What I'm seeing right here, I'm seeing a nice large impulse. Then we broke the low, retraced, broke the low, retraced, broke the low, retraced. And then we got this small range, broke the low again, retraced with a huge wick. So currently we are getting this descending structure. This is what I'm seeing. And to me this signals that this move, this large impulse has ended and we're likely to reverse to the upside. What I would really like to see is a nice large push and then look for a flag. And because it's now 1 PM on Friday my time, I won't be taking any trades, most likely because I know that the volatility will die down and that there will be spreads, so I'm not willing to take that risk. But if it happens on a Monday, then I would be very happy to enter on a flag, or maybe we get a nice large push and then a bullet trade, so a break and a retest, or maybe we get a push, a small pullback, another push, look for a break and a retest. That is also what can happen, so I would be very happy to take this because I'm seeing a large impulse, I'm seeing a descending at the end, and then I'm seeing a reversal to the upside and an established trend, since we have one impulse, small pullback and another impulse, which is very high probability. Also what can happen, so on the euro, because Mondays and Tuesdays will predominantly be range bound, we can just range in this area, so get something like this. And then I would stay out because I'm looking for a trend and I'm looking for a nice large impulse to the upside or to the downside. Also what can happen, so we can get an ascending structure, and if it's a clean ascending, I would look for an impulse to the downside and look for a trade. Same thing to the downside, so I would like to see a nice large impulse, then a flag, because we know that we can get a descending, then an impulse in the same direction on the euro pairs. So on EU and EJ we can get that sort of pattern, or I'd like to see a nice large impulse, then maybe a bullet trade, so a break and a retest, and a push, pullback, another push, signaling a trend to a downside, very high probability. And what can happen, we can get more of a descending right here, then look for an impulse to the upside and look for a flag. That is also that will also be a good trade. And if we do get a larger range at this point, I know that I have to watch out for the liquidity areas, so I have to see where the stops are, which would be right here and right here. And I want to see what happens when we reach the liquidity area. Do we just break and retrace, or do we break and get some conviction and then maybe get a flag or some other continuation pattern? So that is it for EU. And now let's take a look at the euro and the Japanese yen. This is still heavily ranging. If we scroll outside a bit, so something like this, then we can really see this range, and we can see that price doesn't have any momentum either to the upside or to the downside, and that there are liquidity areas so below, right here and right here on the upside. So I need to see what happens when we reach the upper liquidity area. Do we just have an ascending into it, then a push to downside and the flag, or do we just have a large impulse and then retrace straight away, continue with the range, also a possibility, or do we just stay ranging, so something like this? Then I would definitely not be looking for any trades, since I want to see a nice large trend. So what I would like to see in order to search for a trade, I would like to see a large impulse, then a flag, or maybe a large impulse, pullback, another impulse, break and a retest, and same thing to downside, a large impulse, look for a flag, or a large just a second, or a large impulse, pullback, another impulse, look for a short trade. So this pair is heavily range bound, has been for the past few days, and I'm definitely staying out of any trades on EJ, especially when I see this. Now let's take a look at the Aussie pairs. So for the Aussie and US dollar, I am in a trade right here, so let me take this back. Let me take it back from this point. So what we had in the prior price action is we had an impulse, pullback, another impulse, then this sort of a range. Then we had another impulse to the downside, signaling to us that the momentum has continued. And in this trend, there really hasn't been any momentum shifts to the upside. We can see just a small pullback, one candle pullback right here, not really giving me a momentum shift. But when we drop to the downside, they are really big candles and really showing me some strength to the downside. You can see this impulse, and then this impulse. So at this point, I was seeing that trend to the downside, and I was looking for a short trade. I was seeing if we can get either a flag, as I talk about all the time, or if we do get an ascending to the bullet area, or a break and retest trade, same thing, different name, something like this. What I really liked about this is we didn't get a wick, so this was a very clean close at the end of the impulse. And now let's play it. So then we did form a bomb right here, and at this candle I was very happy to place an order at the close of the candle, because what I look for. So I want to see an impulse, then first high, first low, second high, then look for the first bearish candle to enter. To me this was a very clean bomb, because it is not big, so I would classify this as a small bomb. There was no wick at the end of the impulse, so I was not looking for a range. We broke the first high and retraced straight away, signaling to me weakness to the upside, and that the price is very likely to push to the downside. So this to me was a textbook trade, really a clean bomb on Aussie and US dollar, and I was very happy to take the risk. So then we dropped to the downside, and currently we have this impulse, so it is running in profit, but I still haven't been able to reduce my risk fully. But I will see what happens next. So maybe we get another bomb here, which I would not take because I still have risk on the table. So I only scale into trades when I have zero risk on the table. Or what can happen, we can get an ascending to the bullet area, something like this. We can get a V reversal, then that would be, well, very unfortunate, but it can happen. Then I would look for a flag to the upside. Or if we get a V, I would look for a small range, impulse to the upside, and a flag. That is definitely something to keep in mind. Or we can get a small pullback, then break the low. I would look for a bullet short trade. Since we are seeing now an even bigger trend, we are seeing a large push, small pullback, another push, and I am already in a short trade, so I definitely want to be scaling in. Also, we can drop further to the downside, then get a flag, or we can get a pullback from here and then also get a flag. So I would definitely be looking to scale into my position, but as it is the Friday and it's nearing the closing of the market, I would be very careful and not really enter any new trades, since I would want to wait for Monday and for the market to restart for the week. Because of spreads and other different reasons. Also, we can just stay ranging, because Mondays and Tuesdays are predominantly range bound. That is something that can happen. Also, we can start to create a descending structure from here. Then I would look for an impulse to the upside and a long trade. Also would really like to see that one. Or we can get an ascending from here, break the high, look for an impulse to the downside, and look for a short trade. And yeah, I think I covered all the possibilities. So currently Aussie and US dollar is looking the best out of all my 4 pairs, and we have a really nice trend to the downside. So I'm looking to scale into my short position. Now let's take a look at the Aussie and the Japanese yen. This one has been heavily ranging. So we are stuck in this range, and I'm not looking for any trades. So there was actually an opportunity to enter right here. Also on a bomb trade or a flag trade, so same thing, different name. What I was seeing, so I was seeing this break of the high retrace, so small ascending structure, and then we get this large impulse to the downside, and at this point there was a bomb that formed. Let me just play it right here. I would have entered on this candle, but this just didn't fit my plan. And you may be asking why, because on the AU I took it. Well, because we are stuck in a larger range, so I'm seeing an ascending into a descending into an ascending, not really showing me any moves either to the upside or to the downside. This line is wrong. Yeah, not really showing me any moves. This impulse was clean and was showing momentum, but it's still stuck in this range and I don't want to be taking the risk. We got a wick at the end of the impulse and the bump also didn't fit my plan. So even if this was a perfect setup before, like if the prior price action was perfect, I would still stay out of this bump because we had this continuation of the second leg and I don't want to see that on AJ. So on Aussie and the Japanese yen, when I see a bump form, I want to see this first part of pullback, then I want to see a small range, and then we just break the high and retrace straight away. I don't want to see first part of pullback and then second part of pullback being also very big, because that just doesn't fit my plan. So this second part of pullback was too aggressive and too big for me, and as I said, even if the prior price action was perfect, I would very likely stay out of this bump because of this second part, how we retraced aggressively. So yeah, and then price dropped to a downside. So currently we did break out of this range, and what I know that there are liquidity areas below and above the range. So we can easily just retrace back into the range from here because of the liquidity areas. Definitely something to keep in mind. And since it is Friday, I won't be looking for any trades. And let me just forecast some possibilities. What I would like to see is I would like to see a continuation of this impulse and then look for a break and a retest or a bullet trade. I would like to see a nice impulse, then a flag. Or I would like to see a nice descending, signaling to me that the market makers are taking out people's stops, reaching the liquidity area in a corrective fashion, and that we are ready to reverse to the upside. A very high probability in my opinion. Also, just a second, also what can happen, we can get the V reversal, then I would look for a range, impulse to the upside, look for a flag, also something to keep in mind, or we can just stay ranging between the low and the high, or we can get a large impulse to the, just a second, large impulse to the upside, look for a long trade. Also we can get an ascending, then get a nice impulse to downside, look for a trade, but I need to keep in mind this is still in this range bound price action, so it really needs to be clean for me to consider it. And yeah, that's it for the AJ pair. So we are stuck in this range. We did just break out of the range, but we left a absolutely huge wick right here, so I can forecast that we will probably just retrace back into the range and continue ranging. Or as I said, if we get a nice continuation, then I would look for trades, but not today since it is the closing of the market. So yeah, that is it, and I will see you in the next one, maybe next week.